the macabre secret hidden in the seams of the wedding dress. She found an old wedding dress, but something in the seams felt wrong. It wasn't just a piece of fabric. It was as if that dress carried a secret, a weight that spanned generations. Clara didn't know it, but every bride who wore that dress mysteriously disappeared. A handcrafted, delicate piece, yet with a macabre past. Within invisible seams, there was more than thread and lace. There were clues to a truth capable of destroying lives. And now, with her wedding approaching, Clara is about to discover that sometimes the happiest day can hide her worst nightmare. What she found sewn there changed everything forever.
If you love heartwarming stories, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Here, you'll always find touching stories that will move you. Now, shall we hear today's inspiring story?
The day the dress came back. The day dawned gray. The clouds were heavy and the wind blew cold, as if it wanted to blow away any trace of joy from the city. Clara, sitting on the edge of the bed, looked at the floor like someone waiting for answers that never come. On the nightstand, a cup of now cold coffee and an open letter. That letter, the same one she had been rereading for days. Clara, I found something that belongs to you. I'll deliver it personally. M. She didn't know if she was trembling with anxiety or fear. The M was Miguel. Miguel, her ex-fiancé. The man she hadn't seen since the day he disappeared in the middle of their own wedding ceremony, exactly 5 years ago. The memory came in quick flashes. The crowded church, the murmuring of curious guests, the white aisle decorated with fresh flowers, and the dress. That dress of delicate lace with a faint scent of lavender, custom made for her. A dress that morning, seemed to carry more weight than her own body could bear. Clara took a deep breath. "Why now?" she murmured to herself. No one answered. Only the snap of a branch outside, shaken by the wind. Miguel and she never had a proper ending. He vanished in the middle of the party. He vanished and left behind not only the altar, but an entire life they had planned together. And stranger still, the dress also disappeared that same day. She ran a hand through her hair, trying to calm her own breathing. I wonder if... She couldn't finish the sentence. She didn't know if she wanted answers or if she preferred to remain in the comfort of the mystery. Because answers, sometimes, hurt more than doubt. The sound of the doorbell cut through her thoughts like a blade. 3 short rings. She froze. The hallway to the door seemed longer than ever. Every step echoed in the silence of the house. When she opened it, it wasn't Miguel. It was a white-haired woman with a bun and eyes so blue they looked like glass. In her hands, a cardboard box tied with a faded ribbon. "Are you Clara?" she asked, her voice trembling but firm. Clara nodded. The woman held up the box. "He asked me to deliver this before he..." The sentence was lost in the air. Clara felt a knot in her stomach. "Before what?" she insisted. But the woman just smiled sadly, turned and began to walk down the steps. Clara wanted to go after her, but something in her expression said it would be no use. She closed the door slowly, as if she feared the sound might break something inside her. She placed the box on the table and stared at it for a few seconds, not daring to touch it. The air felt heavier. The wind outside picked up, making the window rattle. Finally, she pulled the ribbon. The lid lifted with a slight creak, and there it was, the dress. The same dress she had sworn she would never see again. The lace still perfect, the fabric still with the same soft scent of lavender, but there was something different. In the lining, sewn with red thread, a small key. Clara ran her fingers over it, feeling the coldness of the metal. The key looked old, made of worn iron. "What do you open?" she whispered, as if the object could answer. A shiver went down her spine. Just then, thunder echoed and the lights flickered. She thought about calling someone, telling them what she had just received, but who would believe it? As she stared at the dress, a strange feeling came over her. It was as if the fabric carried not just memories, but also secrets. Secrets that perhaps she wasn't ready to uncover. At the bottom of the box, there was also a small envelope with no return address. With trembling hands, she opened it. Inside, a note with hurried letters. What you're looking for is where it all began. But be careful, not everyone wants you to know the truth. Clara felt her heart race. She looked at the key and the dress again, and she realized that for the first time in years, it wasn't just pain that was driving her. It was also a strange and dangerous curiosity. Just then, she heard a noise coming from the front door. Footsteps. Slow, heavy, as if someone was approaching.
The sound behind the door. Clara stood motionless, as if her body had forgotten how to move. The sound of footsteps was there, right on the other side of the door, heavy and slow, as if each one dragged time along with it. She held her breath. Her heart was beating so hard it seemed to echo down the hallway. "Who's there?" Her voice came out weaker than she wanted. No answer, just silence. And then a slight scratch of a fingernail on the metal of the doorknob. Clara took a step back, clutching the dress box like it was a shield. The seconds passed. The sound stopped. A silence so profound it hurt her ears. She walked to the side window, peering out onto the street. Nothing. No person, no car. She took a deep breath, trying to convince herself it was just the wind. But deep down, she knew it wasn't. She closed the curtain tightly and went back to the table, staring at the dress as if it could explain everything. She picked up the key again. The metal was cold, but it seemed to vibrate slightly in the palm of her hand. With each second, the feeling that it had a specific destination grew stronger. She remembered the note, where it all began. It all began on the day of the wedding. More specifically, in her family's old house, where she had gotten ready that morning. Clara hadn't been back there since. It was as if that place had been frozen in time, along with the life she had lost. She decided she had to go. Not tomorrow, not later, now. She grabbed a coat, put the key in her pocket, and carefully placed the dress back in the box, but not before running her fingers over the fabric, feeling the soft texture that somehow seemed more alive than it should. The rain started lightly, almost timidly, as she drove through the empty streets. The city seemed quieter than usual, as if it were watching what she was about to do. The drive to the old house was short, but full of memories. The bakery on the corner where she and Miguel used to buy bread on Sundays. The bench in the park where he gave her their first kiss. And the white wall of the school where, as a teenager, she had scrawled her name next to his. All of it now seemed distant, as if it belonged to another life. When she parked in front of the house, her heart ached. The windows were closed, the heavy curtains blocking any light. The peeling paint gave the place a look of abandonment. Key in pocket, she walked to the door.
The wood was damp with age, and the doorknob was rusty. She turned it slowly, but it was locked. She looked at the old key she was carrying. Could it be for this? She carefully fitted it in. Surprisingly, it turned easily, as if it had been used yesterday. The door opened, revealing a narrow, dark hallway. The smell of old wood and a faint scent of lavender, the same as the dress, filled the air. Clara turned on the light. The bulb flickered before steadying, casting shadows in the corners. Every step inside that house felt like a forced return to the past. There was the oval mirror where she had tried on the dress for the first time. There, the golden hanger where it had been hanging on the morning of the wedding. Everything was exactly as she remembered, except for one detail. On the floor, near the window, was a small envelope. She crouched down, picked it up, and opened it. Inside, there was a photo. It was the dress, but not as she knew it. In the picture, the dress was stained red. And in the bottom corner of the photo, something was written by hand. "You don't know the whole truth." A chill ran down her spine. Who had left that there? And why? A snap echoed from upstairs. Footsteps. They weren't hers. She wasn't alone.
Clara stood still at the foot of the stairs, her eyes fixed on the ceiling as if she could see through it. The footsteps were slow, spaced out, and each one seemed heavier than the last. She tried to say something, but no words came out. Holding the photo of the stained dress tightly, she took a deep breath and started to climb. The handrail was cold, almost damp, as if no one had touched it for years. With each step, the sound from upstairs became clearer. Halfway up, a thought crossed her mind. What if it's not someone I know? But it was too late to turn back. Or maybe too early to give up. Reaching the top, she noticed the hallway was even darker than the floor below. The doors were closed. The air was heavy. She could have sworn she smelled a faint scent of smoke mixed with the lavender perfume. The footsteps stopped. The silence now seemed to be watching. Clara walked slowly to her old room's door. The doorknob was cold. She turned it. The door opened with a long, low creak. Inside, the dim light revealed furniture covered by white sheets, like motionless ghosts. In the center of the room, something caught her eye. An old, dark wooden chest with an iron clasp. She knelt before it. She pulled the key from her pocket. Could it be for this? She fitted it in. It turned. The clasp opened with a dry snap. Inside, there were no jewels or common keepsakes, just a folded piece of fabric. It was a remnant of the wedding dress, but its edges were burnt, and the smell of smoke came from it. Clara held it, trying to understand. At the bottom of the chest was a new note. The original dress did not survive. What you have now is just a part of the story. Her heart started to race. If that dress wasn't the same, then what was in the box at her house? Who made it look identical, and why? A sound behind her made her entire body tremble. It was a slow, heavy drag in the hallway. She turned around but saw nothing, only colder air and a denser shadow. "Who's there?" she yelled, this time with force. No answer, but something in the environment had changed. One of the hallway doors, the last one on the right, was now ajar. She knew it hadn't been like that before. Clara walked towards it, each step more hesitant. She pushed the door open. The room was empty. Almost. On the floor, right in the center, was a smaller box, wrapped in a dirty cloth. She knelt, removed the cloth, and opened it. Inside, an album of old photos. All of them were of her and Miguel, except for the last one.
In the last one, there was Miguel, but with another woman in a wedding dress. And the dress she was wearing was the same one. The air rushed out of Clara's lungs. The room seemed to spin around her. Before she could react, a soft whisper, right next to her ear, froze her entire body. You shouldn't have come back.
The woman in the shadows. Clara spun around, her heart hammering against her ribs. The hallway was empty, but she knew that voice hadn't been a figment of her imagination. She felt a cold draft on her face, as if someone had just walked past her. "Who's there?" she yelled again, more firmly. A slight creak came from the stairs. Clara ran to the top and saw a female silhouette standing on the first step. The faint light revealed only outlines. Tied back hair, a simple dress, bare feet. "You..." Clara hesitated. "Who are you?" The woman took a step forward. Her face emerged partially from the shadow. It was the same woman who had delivered the box with the dress earlier that day. "You shouldn't have opened anything," she said in a low, almost tired tone. "It will only hurt more." "Hurt who?" Clara felt a mix of anger and confusion. "What's going on? Where is Miguel?" The woman took a deep breath, slowly descending the steps until she was just a few feet from Clara. Her blue eyes seemed to pierce through any defense. "Miguel," she began, but her voice faltered. "He wasn't the man you thought he was." Clara took a step back, as if that was a physical blow. "What are you talking about?" The woman looked at the photo album in Clara's hands and gestured for her to hand it over. Clara hesitated, but eventually gave in. The woman slowly flipped through the pages, stopping at the image of Miguel with the other bride. "This woman," she said, gently touching the photo. "Her name is Helena." "I don't know any Helena," Clara retorted, her voice trembling. The woman looked up. "Yes, you do. You just don't remember." Clara's stomach churned. What is that supposed to mean? The woman closed the album sharply. "It means the dress wasn't just yours, and that before you there was another ceremony, another bride, another disappearance." The tension in the air was almost unbearable. Clara ran a hand over her face, trying to process it all. "Are you saying that Miguel is no longer alive?" The woman cut in, her voice cold and direct. "At least, not as you think." Clara's world seemed to tilt. "What do you mean, not as I think?" But before she could hear the answer, a deafening noise echoed from downstairs, the front door slamming shut. The woman turned in alarm toward the sound. "They already know you're here," she said urgently. "We don't have much time." "Who are they?" Clara almost screamed, but the woman was already moving fast down the hallway, as if she knew every step of the house in the dark. Clara followed her, but when she rounded the last corner, she found only emptiness. The woman had vanished. From downstairs, a new sound, multiple, rapid footsteps climbing the stairs. Clara instinctively retreated into the nearest room, slowly closing the door, trying to hold her breath. But before she could calm down, a deep male voice spoke from the other side of the door. "Clara, open up. We need to talk about the dress."
The man behind the door. Clara stood motionless, her ear pressed against the wood. The deep voice sounded familiar, but there was something different about it, as if it were hoarser, heavier with time. "Who are you?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Silence for a few seconds, then, "I'm someone who tried to protect you, but failed. Open the door, Clara." Her heart raced. She tried to think quickly. "If you want to protect me, say my full name." The answer came without hesitation. Clara Beatrice Morera. The shock made her hands tremble. No one outside her family knew her full name, except one person. "Miguel?" The word escaped before she could stop it. From the other side, a sigh. "Yes." She took a step back, as if his name had pushed the air out of the room. "That's impossible. You vanished." "I didn't vanish, Clara. I was taken. And the dress is the reason for everything." Clara's hand was on the doorknob, but she hesitated. "If it's really you, tell me, what happened on our wedding day?" The answer was slow in coming, as if he were choosing each word carefully. "On the day of our wedding, someone entered the church before you arrived. It was Helena, wearing the same dress." Clara's entire body went cold. That doesn't make sense. I've never seen that woman. You have, but you don't remember. And that's because he broke off, his tone changing to urgency. I can't explain here. They're coming. Before she could ask who they were, the door was pushed open with force. Clara stumbled backward. Miguel walked in. He looked different. His hair was longer and unkempt. His beard was unshaven, and there were deep circles under his eyes. But it was him. His eyes were the same, even if more tired. "My God," she whispered. "It really is you." He took a step forward, but didn't try to touch her. "We have to get out of here, now." "No, Miguel." She shook her head. "I want answers." He looked at her intensely, as if torn between telling her everything and protecting her. "The dress you have isn't just a memory. It's a key, literally and metaphorically. And if it falls into the wrong hands..." He stopped, hearing a sound in the hallway. Rapid footsteps, many of them, heading toward the room. Miguel turned to the window. "We have no choice." "Are you crazy?" Clara backed away. "It's the second floor." He looked her in the eyes. "We either jump or they find us. And if they find us, there won't be another chance." The sound at the door was too close now. The doorknob started to turn. Miguel grabbed her hand tightly. "Trust me." The sound of the door opening was drowned out by the sound of breaking glass as they jumped. Clara felt the wind cut her face, the ground rushing up too fast. And then, darkness.
The escape. The fall was shorter than Clara had imagined. She landed on something soft, a pile of damp leaves in the garden. The impact knocked the wind out of her lungs, but there was no time to complain. Miguel was already pulling her by the arm. "Get up," he said, his voice urgent. "They're coming down now." Clara tried to keep up, still dizzy. "Miguel, who are they?" "I'll explain later. Just run." They crossed the yard, the slippery ground making every step difficult. Behind them, voices shouted orders and heavy footsteps grew closer. They got out through a rusty side gate, emerging onto a dark street. Miguel pointed to a car parked a few feet ahead. It was old, with peeling paint, but it looked ready to go. "Get in." Clara hesitated. "Is this stealing?" "It's ours." He patted the hood. "I bought it from a friend." The moment they got in, a shadow appeared on the corner. A tall man in a black overcoat stopped and stared at them. His eyes gleamed under the faint lamplight, cold and calculating. Miguel started the engine, which roared loudly. The man began to walk quickly toward them. The car sped down the street, and Clara looked in the rearview mirror, seeing the figure standing in the middle of the road, motionless, as if he didn't need to run to catch them. "Miguel," she said, out of breath, "now you have to tell me. Who was that?" He kept his eyes on the road. "Someone who works for the Helena family." "Family?" Clara frowned. "You said Helena was a woman." She was, but she was also part of something bigger, a group that keeps, and sometimes steals, objects with dangerous histories. "Objects like the dress?" He nodded. "This dress is more than just fabric and stitching. It was made with fragments of other dresses from other brides, all of whom disappeared." Clara's stomach churned. "That's horrible." "It's more than horrible. It's a trap. Whoever wears it is marked." The road was now lined with trees, the headlights illuminating only a few feet ahead. "Marked for what?" Clara asked, her voice softer. Miguel looked at her quickly, and his eyes showed something between fear and guilt. To repeat the story. To be the next one. A shiver ran down Clara's spine. "Then why am I still alive?" He took a deep breath. "Because I got you out of the church before it was over, but they never stopped looking for you." Clara's hand went to her pocket, feeling the key sewn into the dress. "So that key, what does it open?" Miguel gripped the steering wheel. "It opens the last place Helena was seen alive, and maybe the reason why it all started." Before Clara could react, headlights appeared behind them. A black car was approaching too fast. "Hold on!" Miguel yelled. The screech of tires and the metallic crash filled the night as the black car hit their rear end. Clara was thrown against the front seat, and Miguel struggled to keep control. "They're not gonna stop,"
he said. "We have to lose them before the bridge, or it'll be too late." The bridge. The black car was still glued to their rear. The engine's sound was like a menacing roar behind them, and with every approach, Clara felt her heart race faster. "Miguel, they're going to push us off the road," she screamed, grabbing the dashboard. "Not if they fall first." He glanced quickly in the rearview mirror, calculating the distance. The road narrowed ahead. The bridge over the river appeared as a dark line, lit by only one or two old lampposts. The sound of the water, even from a distance, seemed louder than it should have been. The black car bumped them again. Miguel turned the wheel, and their car slid sideways, almost touching the guardrail. Clara bit her lip to stop from screaming. "Hold on tight," he repeated, suddenly accelerating. The black car tried to keep up, but Miguel made a sharp turn as they entered the bridge. The pursuing car's rear tire squealed loudly, and Clara heard a metallic snap, as if something had broken. For a moment, it seemed like they would gain distance, but they didn't. The black car came back, faster. "Miguel, why do they want the dress so badly?" Clara asked, unable to take her eyes off the rearview mirror. "Because it's the last in a sequence." His voice was tense. "With it, they complete the cycle. And when that happens, they disappear with the person forever." "How many before me?" The question came out as a whisper. He hesitated. 7. Clara felt a knot in her chest. "And Helena was the last one before me?" "Yes. And she was my sister." The world seemed to stop for a second. Clara looked at him in disbelief. "Your sister? I never told you because I thought I could save you without bringing that burden. But now we have no other choice." The black car collided with them again, and Miguel almost lost control. Clara clung to the seat. "So what does the key open?" He looked at her for a moment, even while driving at high speed. A safe, with all the evidence, photos, names, dates, and the name of the one who started this curse. "And where is this safe?" Miguel pointed forward. "At the end of this bridge." The engine sound behind them grew louder. The black car was about to hit them again. Miguel floored the accelerator. Clara could see the end of the bridge, but she also noticed something that chilled her to the bone. The black car wasn't trying to overtake them. It was pushing them sideways, directly against the guardrail. The dark river water gleamed under the faint light. A single hit, and they would plummet. Miguel yelled, "Hold on, Clara!" The impact came. The car slid to the side, the sound of twisting metal mixing with the roar of the water below.
The final tie. The car swayed precariously over the guardrail. The water below looked like an endless abyss, black and merciless. Clara tasted the metallic fear in her mouth. "Miguel!" she screamed. He wrenched the wheel, but the black car kept pushing, inch by inch. The sound of twisting metal scraping against the bridge's iron railing sounded like a final warning. "Get the key," Miguel ordered. She pulled it from her pocket, her hands trembling. "What now?" "If I can't hold on, jump and swim to the other side. The safe is in the central pillar of the bridge. It's a secret compartment, just above the base. You'll know it when you find it." "What about you?" He smiled sadly. "It doesn't matter. What matters is that they don't complete the cycle." The black car delivered the final blow. Miguel's car broke through the guardrail and plunged. The impact with the water was like hitting liquid concrete. Everything was submerged in a suffocating silence, except for the frantic beating of Clara's heart. She unbuckled her seatbelt and swam desperately upward. When she emerged, the car was already sinking fast. "Miguel!" she screamed, but saw no response. The cold cut her skin as she swam toward the central pillar. She found a small, almost invisible opening and fitted the key into it. The mechanism turned with a heavy click. Inside was a rusty metal safe. She pulled it open, revealing dozens of yellowed envelopes, old photos, and a thick folder. The name on the cover made her blood run cold. Project Bride. The pages revealed everything:
from the first disappeared bride over 70 years ago to Helena. They all wore dresses made by the same seamstress, all connected to a network of people who believed the dress transferred fortune and longevity to the owner, but at the cost of the bride's life. And the last page bore Clara's name, with her wedding date crossed out and replaced with today's date. A noise made her look back. The man in the black overcoat was on the pillar, coming toward her. "Hand it over," he said low and threatening, "or you'll sink with it." Clara felt the icy water around her ankles. Her body was trembling, but her eyes burned with determination. No, it's over. She held the folder tight, tore out the pages, and threw them into the river, one by one, until nothing was left. The man lunged, but she dove under, swimming away with all her might. When she finally reached the shore, exhausted, the sun was just beginning to rise. The dress was still safe inside the box she had brought in the car, but now she knew what to do with it. Days later, Clara walked to a distant clearing, dug a deep hole, and buried the dress along with the key. Her hands covered in dirt, she took a deep breath. She looked up at the sky and whispered, "Helena, Miguel, it's over." The wind blew gently, bringing back the scent of lavender. And for the first time in years, Claire felt she could breathe without fear. The end.
If this story moved you, imagine how many others are hidden out there. That's why you should subscribe to the channel now. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss any exciting stories like this one. And give it a like to let me know you want more. Write in the comments what you would do if you found a dress with a secret like that. I'll respond to the most impactful ones. And share this video with someone who loves stories full of mystery and emotion. Maybe that person will discover something you didn't notice. Here, every detail matters, and the next story could be even more surprising.